We know broken clocks can be right twice a day. But they can be right for the wrong reason, better said. And that's exactly what happened with Fox News propagandist Tucker Carlson after the Trump-Iran fiasco got underway with the unauthorized assassination of Iranian Quds leader Qasem Soleimani. Tucker Carlson correctly pointed out, maybe Iran is not the greatest threat we face. Maybe Americans wouldn't benefit from escalating a war with Iran. Maybe we have our own issues to deal with here in the United States. Now, of course, the issues Tucker thinks we need to deal with in the United States are very different from the issues you and I likely think we need to deal with in the United States. But Tucker has this sort of anti-interventionist side, and he is correctly pointing out on Fox News that this doesn't make a shred of sense. Take a look.
Threats in the region. If you don't live in Washington, here's the translation. That would be in hostile Middle Eastern countries, places where American troops would never be in the first place were it not for the insistent demands of non-geniuses like Max Boot and John Bolton. But never mind. No one in Washington is in mood for big picture questions right now, questions the obvious ones like, is Iran really the greatest threat we face, and who's actually benefiting from this? And why are we continuing to ignore the decline of our own country in favor of jumping into another quagmire from which there is no obvious exit? By the way, if we're still in Afghanistan 19 years later, what makes us think there's a quick way out of Iran? And so on. Nobody is thinking like that right now. Instead, chest beaters like Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska are making the usual warlike noises, the ones they always make. This is very simple, Ben Sasse wrote in a statement last night. General Soleimani is dead because he was an evil bastard who murdered Americans, which is essentially true. Soleimani was certainly a bad guy. But does that make killing him, quote, very simple? It does not. Nothing about life and certainly nothing about killing is ever very simple. And any politician who tells you otherwise is dumb or is lying. Yes, Soleimani was linked to the deaths of Americans. Nobody mourns his passing. But Mexico and China are also linked to the deaths of Americans. Each has flooded our country with narcotics from which tens of thousands of Americans die every single year. Not that anyone in power cares. So does that mean we get to bomb Oaxaca? Can we start assassinating generals in the People's Liberation Army? Maybe. Maybe Ben Sasse will call for that, too. He's a former consultant and a very tough character.
Tucker Carlson is spot on that nothing will be quick or easy. There will be no solving a problem by invading Iran. There will be nothing simple about assassinating a leader like Qasem Soleimani and saying, hey, great, we did it. We have a horrible track record of being totally unable to end conflicts that often make no sense to begin with. And Tucker Carlson agrees with me and with many people that Qasem Soleimani was a bad guy. But the idea that we should assassinate him and then escalate a military conflict with Iran is a terrible idea. There are right-wingers who are experiencing some cognitive dissonance here because they see Trump really wants it, but another pseudo-hero of theirs, Tucker Carlson, doesn't want it. What do we do? What do we do? This is where you need to be able to think for yourself. This is an unauthorized assassination, which, if you believe in checks and balances, has to be opposed, period. This is the possible lead-up for political purposes to another endless conflict, very expensive one, where the winners are military contractors, the war hawks, maybe Trump getting reelected, and the losers are all the people that will die, Americans who are seeing their tax money spent on political conflicts rather than on improving the United States. Merely, it's like we don't have to go look for proposals for how to improve things. We've got proposals on healthcare and education and so many other things. Even if you hate Iranian leadership and what Iran stands for and the religious theocracy that exists there, you still have to be against this. But then, of course, Tucker Carlson goes on to say, we have our own issues to deal with. A lot of the issues he wants to deal with are horrible examples of his xenophobia. Tucker Carlson has talked about the hoax of white supremacy. It's not a hoax. It's a real issue we've got to deal with in the United States. He thinks it's fake. Tucker has talked about how immigrants coming to our country make us a dirtier country. He wants to deal with that. We don't think that's actually an issue. We find that extremely xenophobic and racist. He's saying the right things, but for the wrong reasons. The issues he wants to focus on domestically are ones that serve his reactionary agenda, like stopping immigration to the United States by brown people. And even in the clip, he eventually talks about how bad Mexico is. Mexico is not bad in the way that many of our adversaries are bad. People in Mexico are functioning primarily out of desperation and because of corruption and economic realities. If we really want to deal with Mexico, we would deal with the reasons that drugs and people come here in the first place. That's not Tucker's view. He's wrong on this issue. But even Tucker Carlson recognizes the folly of what Donald Trump is doing here with Iran. I wish he would call Trump out instead of just calling out Ben Sass and Mike Pompeo. I wish he would call out the completely politically opportunistic nature of this, which is immoral at its core, and he doesn't. But even if Tucker Carlson pierces the echo chamber of just a few of the Fox News viewers that are watching him, this is still a very good thing. That being said, I would not be at all surprised to eventually see Tucker Carlson kind of fall back to some kind of mild deference to Donald Trump in general. I'd also love to see Tucker, the fiscal conservative that he claims to be, call out that no one is asking how would we pay for this war in Iran. I would not agree with him on all of the things I mentioned earlier, but I would respect Tucker Carlson a little bit if he actually called out the so-called fiscally conservative right and said, guys, we can't just talk about can we afford it when it's healthcare and education. We've got to talk about it when it's pointless, politically opportunistic wars as well. I'm not holding my breath for Tucker Carlson to do that.